more? Is food costing more? Yes or no?
Yes.
I was reading an article the other day, and after 27 years, it'll be very hard to get in meditation. And Prabhupada said, as the world situation gets worse, you will run short of food. As you know, there's a very big war going on right now. You know that?
Yes.
Between whom and whom?
Russia and China.
Right. ISKCON has nearly 50 temples in Ukraine, more than 20,000 devotees. And unfortunately, they're all shattered at the moment, and most of the temples have closed because of the war. In Ukraine, all male, the ages of 21 to 61, have to serve in the army. They just catch hold of every man on the road. Yes, if he's 21 to 61, give him a gun and say, go and shoot. And they give him a 5-minute training program. So, this war is unbelievable. It's unbelievable because I've been working in these countries since 1981. It's unbelievable because they have the same culture, the same religion. Why all this should be taped? I see a lot of cameras here. And I have to change my lecture. So they're fighting. And due to their fighting, what's happening? The world is running short of now grains. Ukraine and Russia were the biggest exporters of wheat in the world. Now there's no wheat. This year, you'll have to pay more for your Bhagavad Gita. And you'll complain, oh, the prices are so high. But they're so high because we are paying high prices for the paper. And why are we paying high prices for the paper? Because the pulp, it comes from Russia. Ukraine is not available. So you will pay a higher price. So you can see that in the material world, things are really getting from bad to worse. And if anybody thinks that he has an alternative, that's simply illusion. Krishna says, the material world means misery, everything is temporary. All of you sitting here are very fortunate in that you came in contact with Prabhupada's movement. So Prabhupada gave us the simple truth that is there in the Vedas. And if we see this knowledge, this is for entire humanity. Yesterday, I was giving a lecture at Ramjas College in Delhi. You must have heard of it. Ramjas College is the most sophisticated commerce college in India. And they do the lecture on business and what's the word for? Business ethics, I'm sorry. It was a lecture on business ethics. What does business ethics mean? I participated in a series of lectures on business ethics in China 4 years ago. So they have a lot of these conferences. It's very fashionable to give the word ethics. So people talk about ethics. Ethics essentially means certain etiquette, certain principles of morality that we should follow. In reality, no one follows. So the ethics should be there in our day-to-day life. You've heard of Chanakya Pandita?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was he? Who was Chanakya Pandita? Chanakya Pandita was the Prime Minister of a pious Hindu king. And the king was very magnanimous. Chanakya Pandita, the Prime Minister, would live in a small hut next to the palace. And the Chanakya Pandita was a man of great wisdom. The king would say, Chanakya, you are such a knowledgeable man, and you're living in a small hut. I'll build a big house for you. He said, no, sir, I'm happy here. Well, because if I take your obligation, I have to say yes to everything you say. I want to keep my independence. Chanakya Pandita gave us very nice quotes. One thing he said, deal with others where you want others to deal with you. So how do you like others to deal with you? Lightly, rudely? Chappal marega? No. You don't say that, do you? So deal with others where you want others to deal with you. So we would like to deal with others to deal with us nicely, isn't it? Am I right? You want others to speak to you in a very gentlemanly way. To deal with others nicely also. If you deal with others nicely, what happens? When you deal with others nicely, then the other person develops his respect for you. Why? He says, oh, he's a gentleman. He knows how to talk. And if you're, for example, rude, shouting, insulting people, talking behind their backs, and what do people say? This man is not a gentleman. So deal with others where you want others to deal with you. So we naturally like to deal with others. We naturally expect everyone else to deal with us nicely, isn't it? So you should also deal in a similar fashion. Then he said, look at everyone's assets as nothing but garbage. You know, we see a nice car on the road. The mind says, take that car. But if you look at garbage, as garbage, then you're not attracted. So we get lusty desires when we see something. But if you see that it's garbage, then you won't feel like stealing. In our scriptures we have so many nice quotes. And Krishna says, lust, anger and greed are three highways that take you where? Take you to hell. Lust, anger and greed. Actually these days, you don't have to experience much about going to hell. The environment we live in is as good as hell. Is that right?
Yes.
The pollution that we have in the Indian cities, maybe only 1% less than hell. It's almost as good as hell. So we're experiencing living. The one time we were in Bombay, it wasn't so packed, wasn't so polluted. Now it's so polluted. So what should we do? We should take advantage of the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, lust, anger, and greed are three highways leading to hell. Greed. Can greed ever be satisfied? Take for example, you have the kings of India, Mukesh Ambani and Adani and all these big multi-millionaires. You think they're satisfied? Every day they start to subdue enterprise. They feel that they don't have enough. Isn't it? Don't you read in the papers? The Lion starting a new factory. And they don't feel they have done enough. They want more. Will the more ever stop? They stop. In the Bhagavatam, the story of Vamandev. The Lord incarnates in various ways. One of them is Vamandev, where he appeared as a young Brahmin. So he went to the palace of the king. The king received him very warmly and said, "What can I do for you?" I say, when you see a saintly person, you should be inquiring, "What can I do for you?" So the beggar Brahmin boy said, "If you want to do something for me, just give me enough land. I can keep 3 feet." And the king was surprised. He's come to such a big man, and that's all he wants. "I'll give you much more. I can give you a whole planet." He said, "No." He said, "A man who hasn't control his mind and senses will not be satisfied even if he gets the whole world." That's a fact, isn't it? No one is really satisfied with what he has. I meet so many millionaires, they're not satisfied also. So, whereas if you take to the chanting, you know, holy name, not satisfied. Prabhupada used to give us an example. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I loud enough?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Prabhupada used to give the example of the Goswami of Vrindavan. They were very aristocratic. They were running a huge kingdom. They had so much money that when they retired, they had a whole ship, boat full of coins. But when they went to Vrindavan, they were living by doing madhukari. You know what is madhukari? You just take it up to keep your belly together. So they were satisfied. So if you have Krishna, the holy name, you're really satisfied in any condition. Be sure to take the chanting process seriously. Hare Krishna. I thought I'd leave some time to answer questions. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Prabhupada said asking questions is a sign of intelligence. So they tell me that this is the group with the highest IQ. Do you have any questions?
If you have any question, please raise your hand.
Yeah, because you know the philosophy. Yeah, quickly.
Loudly.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you Maharaj for your association and giving us instruction. Maharaj, I have a question that we all know that association of devotees is of prime importance. We have all been advised that association is the main thing. But sometimes when we associate with devotees, we take it for granted. We feel that why this devotee is getting so much involved in my life. So how can we develop that mood of appreciation and mood that there is a value just which has been coming and I'm getting that value. So how to have that mood?
So your question is, how do we appreciate what we are getting? Is that it?
How we appreciate association of devotees in our life?
To appreciate association of devotees, you must have at least some basic knowledge. And if you are on the spiritual path, then you want to associate with somebody who is giving you spiritual knowledge. Now the Muni explains in the 4th canto that there are 3 levels of association that you can experience. One is you associate with those who are less advanced than you. Then what do you do with them? You display compassion, give them knowledge. Then you meet those who are equally advanced. How do you associate with them? By making friendship. Then you meet somebody who is more advanced than you. Then what do you do in such a situation? You become joyful. And there's a very nice example in the Vedas of peacocks. Peacocks, when they see clouds for the first time in the rainy season, they dance in ecstasy. Don't tell me why, but I think that. So, when you meet somebody more advanced, you're joyful because you will get some knowledge going to help you achieve the goal of life. That's like if you're suffering from a major disease, you meet a doctor who can cure it, you feel happy, isn't it? You think he may save my life. Yeah? Any more?
Any other questions?
Yeah.
You can sit.
Yeah.
So, in life, when we are trying something for any task or anything, repeatedly we are getting disappointments. So, for the same thing again and again.
When you're trying to do something and it's not succeeding.
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
We should not get discouraged. We should understand that everything is controlled by the Lord. And we all have our quota of happiness and distress, predestined. You may have seen sometimes there's an accident and a healthy man dies. And sometimes you see there was an accident and a bigger accident and they survived. Sometimes you see a man with a minor disease dies and a man with a worse disease survives. You see that?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the law of karma. The law of karma says you will get your quota of happiness and distress. Only as your quota is, not a drop more. So if you don't succeed, let's say you say, I want to overtake Ambani. So, and you try. If you don't succeed, then at least you know it's not your karma. So you may say, I want to get a good Mercedes car. And then the karma says, well, you are not entitled to a car, you can just get a beaten up taxi. That's in your quota. So sometimes you may try and not succeed. Don't get discouraged. You've done your best, the Lord doesn't want you to have it. So be satisfied. Be content. One of the problems of material life is nobody's ever content. Everybody wants more, more, more. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I have one question. It's about.
A little louder.
Yeah, I have one question about distress, what we see in the society, and many times we get disturbed. So, is the distress outside us or it is within us, which makes a dilemma what we should do?
You mean you get disturbed by what? By seeing, like, let's say you see a bad accident, you get disturbed by seeing that ugly scene. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, when you move around, you see a lot of people in trouble. You want to, and what's so that they are.
Frankly, we would like to believe that I can be happy in life. But I hate to give you bad news. And the bad news is, doesn't matter how hard you try, happiness will be short now. And what is happiness today becomes a cause of pain tomorrow. Dukhanayam ashashatam. Krishna says in the Gita, two characteristics. One is misery, and the other is that it is temporary. Everything is temporary. Even if you become a big multi-millionaire, you know it's short term, isn't it? So when you see this misery, it's good. Just like this COVID. You know, COVID came for 2 years. And in the second year of COVID, our book distribution was very good. You may say, why? Because people were realizing there's nothing but misery in life. Now here's a solution. The Gita has some solution. So our book distribution on a one-to-one basis was the highest last year. So people were seeing misery and they wanted a relief. So there is misery in life. Doesn't matter how much you try to hide it. You know, like now we have these beauty saloons. And if you own the beauty salon, no? We have many devotees having beauty saloons. One of them has one in Surat. He has 20 chairs, but he plays Prabhupada's music all along. He tells me that the marriage season, the business is really good because everyone wants to look beautiful for a few days. So, what was I saying?
You were saying beauty salons people.
Yeah, we try to beautify ourselves. Even we try, it's temporary. Like in the West, they have the anti-aging shops. Anti-aging in English means something that avoids getting old. You can do all the makeup you want, but gradually it will catch up. So there is, you must recognize there is misery, and the only solution is a spiritual solution. Was this your question?
You see distress everywhere, so how to deal with it?
Well, when you see distress everywhere, you can see that if one day it can happen to you also. Like when you go to a funeral home, you're going with a funeral party, are very grave and sober. You know, one day this may happen to you. But then you forget it. So the reality is that misery will come to you also, it's just a matter of time. Any more questions? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So,
I will.
I understand that God is one and there are various forms and manifestations of God. But for some of us who have anchored since our childhood and grew upon worshipping various other forms of God. So, for someone who is doing Krishna Bhakti, should he also continue worshipping other forms of God? Or should
I
he
understand.
only
You see, in India, we are brought up in the culture, all gods are one. Take any path, you'll reach the same destination. Isn't it? But in our day-to-day lives, is that true? If you want to go from here to Churchgate, can you go to Vile Parle? You can't. So, we should know that even in spiritual life, the scriptures explain the one Supreme Lord and all others are subordinate. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Yeah. In India, we're all born in this understanding all gods are one. When you come to ISKCON, you start reading the books, you just go, oh, it's not that all gods are not one. There's one Supreme Lord and and the others are subordinate, part and parcel. So then we change. The Bhagavatam says, just like when you water the root of the tree, all the branches are nourished. So similarly, when you worship Supreme Lord, you worship all the demigods also. 33 crore. In India, most people don't get a proper exposure to religion at a young age. We just taught Bhagwan ek hai, all results are not the same. You read the Bhagavad Gita, it is specifically written there, Shri Bhagwan Vacha. Isn't it? One thing you'll notice in ISKCON publications, everything Prabhupada gave us is 100% based on Shastra. Not 100%. He did not deviate from the truth. That's what the Bhagavad Gita is called. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chanting on the Hare Krishna mantra, that's also the real thing. Yeah. Anything else? Okay.
Hare Krishna. We have to really follow the Vastu Shastra.
I'm sorry, can you speak louder?
The question is, do we have to follow Vastu Shastra?
Vastu is a Vedic science. We have to have the right Vastu Guru. The Vastu, sometimes some people who broke the building, what's the advice? If you get a good Vastu teacher who knows the real Vastu, then it's okay. But the problem is, most of the Vastu experts are not so trained. So that's why. Vastu is a Vedic science. Just like astrology is also a Vedic science. You have to have the right astrologer. Somebody who is trained. You work with an architect?
You work with an architect?
No. I work in a company, but this I asked because if we are buying the house, so at that time we have to follow this Vastu Shastra. So for that
Make sure you get the right teacher. Okay. Okay. Any more? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. So Maharaj, you mentioned about Chanakya Pandita in terms of dealing, the way we want others to deal, the way we want ourselves to get dealt, we should
Deal with others the way you want others to deal with you.
Yes. So the question is, Maharaj, how we deal with those who are not nicer with us? It may be a devotee, it may be a karmi also. So it really become like we should also react the same with those, or how do we?
Very good question. One approach could be tit for tat. You know what is tit for tat? Nele pedela. You slap me once, I'll slap you twice. That's one alternative. Now Chaitanya says, become tolerant, more tolerant than a tree. That is, even if somebody is misbehaving or cheating you or abusing you, you become tolerant. And if you don't do tit for tat, the other person will realize, I'm being foolish, and he may improve. Because even if you retaliate, you're not going to get anything. You're just going to increase your temperature, increase your blood pressure. So if you want to be cool-headed, that's better. Where is Lord? You read that third verse of the Shastra? More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. You know that verse. That is the best advice. Okay? Okay, I'll just take one more and then go. Yeah.
Maharaj, Prabhupada once he was telling that I will take you from the back door. If there is some flaws, back door means back home, back to Godhead, but I will take you from the back door if there is some flaws in you in practice. So right, Maharaj, my question is like, now if I am practicing, not properly, there are so many flaws, so many mistakes are also happening. So not eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. So, but still, Maharaj, is there any chance, one thing which I can do, even though committing so many problems and offenses, but still one thing I can do very nicely, I can have that chance to go back home, back to Godhead. And also that back door, what Prabhupada is saying.
I never heard of Prabhupada saying back door, but I heard Prabhupada say, if you chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regulated principles, then you'll definitely go back to Godhead. It gives you a guarantee. When Amazon gives you a guarantee, you have faith. Why do people buy from Amazon? Mainly because of the guarantee. So Krishna also says, you're all religious and surrender to me, I will then protect you. So we should have faith. Krishna says, surrender to me, I will protect you. So you do 16 rounds, 4 regular principles, Then you go back to Godhead. Yeah? Okay.
There's one more question.
Yeah.
Maharaj, just one question. So what is the practical advice we can give someone who is struggling with a lot of sleeping? Basically 10 hours or something like that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Someone who
Lot of sleeping, 10 hours.
Someone who sleeps a lot, what do we tell
What do you
them?
advise? Sleep 10 hours.
Sleep more than 10 hours. I once read a report on a survey done in England. It's about 10 years ago. And they had analyzed how many hours people sleep and how long do they live. And their conclusion was those who slept 6 to 7 hours a day lived longer than those who slept more than 6 to 7 hours a day. So your body, unless, if you have a healthy body, you don't need more than 6 hours. If you have a sickly body, that's different. Many times people sleep because they're just lazy. Sleep is another aspect of ignorance. So, when you were young, you probably heard, haram, haram hai. So there should be haram. Just taking useless rest is not going to give you any happiness. We should use every minute of our time in productive service. That is, because time belongs to the Lord. And don't waste it. And sleep is nothing but going in ignorance. Okay. Should I go? Any more questions? They've run out of questions. Okay, thank you. You'll come every week?